Listening, summarize spoken text, guided practice. Question number 1. Ready? Let me play the audio for you.
This campfire dynamic is what's playing out in cities, not just in the US, but all around the world. East London, the east side of Paris is this way, East Jerusalem. Even down the street from where we're sitting right now, the marginalized community is East Vancouver. Now, I'm not the only one to notice this. I nerded on this hard for years, and I finally found a group of economic historians in the UK who modeled industrial-era smokestack dispersion. And they came to the same conclusion mathematically that I'd come to as an anthropologist, which is wind and pollution were driving marginalized communities to the east. The dominant logic of the industrial era is about disparity. It's about haves and have-nots, and that's become part of our culture. That's why you know exactly what I'm talking about if I tell you someone's from the wrong side of the tracks. That phrase comes from the direction that wind would blow dirty train smoke, to the east, usually. I'm not saying every single community in the east is on the margin or every community on the margin is in the east, but I'm trying to make a bigger point about disparity by design. So if you find yourself talking about any cardinal direction or a freeway, a river, some train tracks, you're talking about an east side community.
Pause the video to write the summary and then come back once you are ready. This is a sample response. It has been observed that usually the poor and marginalized communities exist on the eastern side of a city. This is seen the world over. The wind, smoke, and pollution are usually more towards the eastern side. It can therefore be inferred that economic disparity is at the center of how our cities and communities are designed. In my notes, what I've written, poor community, east side, and under east, I've written wind, pollution, and then a separate word that I've written, planned, and I put an underline under that. So as to say that this is how it is planned, to emphasize that. And in my mind, when I was listening to this lecture, I had a simple picture, like a train track in the middle. And on one side, there were these poor houses with smoke, with pollution, with dirt. And on the other side, there were these big houses, clean, and even having some water bodies nearby. So that clearly shows the disparity between one part and the other part of the city. And that's what the theme of this audio is, right? That is how the communities are planned. And then it becomes easy to write. It has been observed that usually the poor and marginalized communities exist on the eastern side of a city. And this is seen the world over. The wind, smoke, and pollution are usually more towards the eastern side. It can therefore be inferred that economic disparity is at the center of how our cities and communities are designed. So there are different ways you can construct this. In this response, the person has written usually the poor and marginalized. You can just say marginalized or you can just say poor. Similarly, the wind, smoke, and pollution, even if you don't write all three, the wind and pollution, that's also fine. Because as long as you are able to highlight the fact that there is economic disparity and it is almost by design. All right, let's go to the next question. Get ready. I'm playing the audio now.
Who do you want to be? It's a simple question, and whether you know it or not, you're answering it every day through your actions. This one question will define your professional success more than any other, because how you show up and treat people means everything. Either you lift people up by respecting them, making them feel valued, appreciated, and heard. Or you hold people down by making them feel small, insulted, disregarded, or excluded. And who you choose to be means everything. I study the effects of incivility on people. What is incivility? It's disrespect or rudeness. It includes a lot of different behaviors, from mocking or belittling someone, to teasing people in ways that sting, to telling offensive jokes, to texting in meetings. And what's uncivil to one person may be absolutely fine to another. Take texting while someone's speaking to you. Some of us may find it rude, others may think it's absolutely civil. So it really depends. It's all in the eyes of the beholder and whether that person felt disrespected. We may not mean to make someone feel that way, but when we do, it has consequences.
Okay, you can pause now, write the summary, and then we will review. The sample response. Our behavior towards others has an influence over our success in professional arena. It reflects in the way we treat people and whether we make them feel respected or insulted. Acts like texting during meetings can come across as rude and disrespectful to our colleagues, even though we didn't have that intention, right? Now, what is in my note? I have written how, and then a question mark, treat people, professional. Then I've written respect and put a slash or insult. And after that, I have written intention, and against that, a cross. So as to remind me that irrespective of the intention doesn't matter. If somebody thinks you have insulted them, then it's bad enough. And in my mind, I had this picture where one person is being respectful to another colleague, and that person is liked and appreciated. And the other person is sitting in a meeting and sending a text message, and that is offending other people. So quite easy to now understand what the audio is about. And then looking at the picture in my mind, taking that into consideration, plus the way I've written the notes, I was able to write something very similar to this response. All right. Now, of course, there are different ways you can write. For example, instead of saying our behavior towards others has an influence over our success in professional arena, you could have started by saying that success in professional area depends a lot on how we treat other people, and then comma, whether we make them feel valued or insulted. And after that, another sentence, irrespective of whether we mean to or not, if a person perceives our acts like texting during meetings as rude and disrespectful, then it can have a negative consequence. So there are different ways you can write it, because your mind you will associate pictures in a different way, you will take notes in a different way. But as long as the main idea is that your behavior in professional arena is important, how you treat people is important. That's the main idea. And as long as that comes across correctly, you will be fine. You don't have to cover every point. The main points should be covered. And then pay attention to the words that you have written. If there are any spelling mistakes, if you think you can add some variety by replacing one word by another, do that. If there are any grammatical mistakes, correct them. And the last couple of minutes, we have discussed this before, should be for a review like this. And make sure that you submit your response before the 10-minute timer runs out. Don't think that when the time gets over, it will automatically submit. No, you should submit. You should mark it completed before the time runs out by submitting it explicitly.